Commander Arias Sullivan stood at attention in the pristine meeting chamber of the Nexian vessel Starwaver, her dark uniform a stark contrast against the pearlescent walls. The ship's organic architecture seemed to pulse with its own inner light, making her feel as though she stood within the heart of some vast, living creature. Before her, Ambassador Thexery's crystalline form shifted through subtle shades of blue and violet. The Nexian's translucent body housed swirling patterns of light that humans had learned to recognize as emotional indicators. Right now, those patterns suggested anxiety, an unusual state for a species renowned for their logical composure. "Commander Sullivan," Thexery's voice resonated through the chamber, each word accompanied by ripples of light. "Your presence here must remain confidential. What I am about to share concerns the future of both our species." Sullivan maintained her professional demeanor, though her curiosity piqued. The Nexians had been Earth's most significant allies since first contact 15 years ago, sharing technology and knowledge that had transformed human civilization. But this meeting felt different. There was an urgency in Thexery's movements she'd never seen before. "I understand, Ambassador. How can I help?" Thexery's form pulsed with deeper blues. "We require human perception. Our instruments have detected anomalies across 17 star systems, but our most advanced scanning technology cannot properly analyze them. We believe humans possess a unique ability to perceive these patterns." Sullivan frowned. "With all due respect, Ambassador, Nexian technology far surpasses our own. What could human perception offer that your systems cannot?" "That is precisely what makes this situation so extraordinary." Thexery glided closer, their crystalline form towering over Sullivan. "We have observed that humans possess an inexplicable ability to detect and interpret certain energy patterns that our instruments cannot quantify. You call it intuition. We call it the greatest mystery we have encountered in 10,000 years of space exploration." The commander's hand instinctively moved to the neural interface at the base of her skull, standard issue for all Space Force personnel. "Are you suggesting our gut feelings can perceive something your quantum computers cannot?" "Precisely." Thexery's form brightened. "We need you to serve as a living sensor array. Your neural interface will allow us to record and analyze your perceptions as you examine the anomalies we've detected." Sullivan felt a chill run down her spine. "These anomalies, are they dangerous?" The swirling patterns within Thexery's form darkened momentarily. "We don't know, but they're spreading, Commander. 3 months ago, we detected them in 5 systems. Now it's 17. Whatever this phenomenon is, it's growing." "Why me specifically?" "Your neural interface compatibility ratings are exceptional, even by human standards, and your service record indicates an unusually high degree of what you call combat intuition. You've repeatedly succeeded in situations where standard probability calculations predicted failure." Sullivan remembered those moments, split-second decisions that had saved her ship and crew, choices she couldn't always explain but knew were right. She'd attributed it to experience and luck, but the Nexians clearly saw something more. "When do we begin?" Thexery's form pulsed with approval. "Immediately. But Commander, you must understand, this goes beyond standard diplomatic protocol. What we're attempting has never been done. The interface between human intuition and Nexian technology could be unpredictable." "Unpredictable how?" "We don't know. That's what makes it both fascinating and potentially dangerous. Are you willing to proceed?" Sullivan straightened her shoulders. This was exactly the kind of situation Space Force had trained her for: the unknown, the unprecedented, the edge of human understanding. "I am." "Then prepare yourself, Commander Sullivan. We're about to venture into territory where neither human nor Nexian has gone before. The future of both our species may depend on what we discover." As Thexery led her deeper into the Starwaver, Sullivan couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into something far bigger than a simple scientific investigation. The Nexians' concern was palpable, and if a species as advanced as theirs was worried, humanity had every reason to be terrified. But that was exactly why she had to do this. Sometimes the most important steps forward were taken in darkness, guided only by that uniquely human quality that the Nexians found so fascinating: intuition. And right now, her intuition was screaming that this was just the beginning. The laboratory aboard the Starweaver defied human conventions of scientific equipment. Instead of screens and control panels, Sullivan found herself surrounded by crystalline formations that seemed to grow from the floor and ceiling, each pulsing with complex patterns of light. Vexry guided her to what appeared to be a modified medical pod. "Our analysis chamber has been adapted for human physiology," they explained, their form shifting to calming shades of green. "The neural interface connection will be unlike anything you've experienced before." Sullivan removed her uniform jacket and lay back in the pod, trying to ignore the way the surface seemed to mold itself around her body. "Will I remain conscious during the procedure?" "Yes, but your perception will be expanded." Vexry moved to a nearby crystal formation, their hands passing through its surface as if it were liquid. "We'll start with recorded data from the Centauri sector, where we first detected the anomalies." As the pod sealed around her, Sullivan felt a familiar tingle from her neural interface. But this was different from the standard military connections she was used to. The sensation spread throughout her body, as if every nerve ending was being gently activated. Initiating perception link in 3, 2, 1. The laboratory dissolved. Sullivan found herself floating in space, but not as an observer. She was space. She could feel the currents of stellar wind, the gravitational pulls of distant stars, the complex dance of quantum particles in the void. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrifying all at once. "Focus on the patterns." Vexry's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Let your mind drift. Don't try to analyze, just feel." Sullivan relaxed into the sensation, allowing her consciousness to expand. At first, there was only the natural flow of cosmic energy, but then something else. A discordant note in the symphony of space, like a shadow passing over the stars. "There," she whispered, though she wasn't sure she was actually speaking. "It's like a hole in reality, not empty, but wrong somehow." The patterns shifted, showing her another sector of space. The same wrongness was there, but stronger, more defined. It moved with purpose, following paths that made no logical sense, but felt horrifyingly deliberate. "Your neural patterns are registering frequencies we've never detected." Vexry's voice held a note of excitement. "You're seeing something our instruments cannot." Sullivan tried to focus on the anomaly, to understand its nature, but it was like trying to grab smoke. The more she concentrated, the more it seemed to slip away. But the feeling it left behind, "It's feeding," she realized with sudden clarity. Whatever this thing is, it's consuming something. Not matter or energy, but something more fundamental. The simulation ended abruptly, and Sullivan found herself back in the laboratory, gasping for breath. Vexry stood over her, their crystalline form cycling through rapid color changes. "What you experienced," they said, their voice tight with controlled emotion, "confirms our worst fears. These anomalies aren't natural phenomena. They're evidence of an ancient life form we thought was merely legend, the Void Hunters." Sullivan sat up, her head spinning. Void Hunters. Entities that exist between dimensions, feeding on what we can only translate as consciousness potential. They consume the very essence of sentient life, leaving entire civilizations as empty husks. Vexry's form darkened. "We found evidence of their passing in archaeological studies, but never believed they still existed. Now they're active again, and spreading faster than we could have imagined. And humans can sense them somehow. How is that possible?" "Your species evolved in isolation, developing along a unique path. What you call intuition, gut feelings, or sixth sense. We believe these are manifestations of a perceptual ability that most species lost millions of years ago. An ability that might be crucial to our survival." Sullivan stood, steadying herself against the pod. "How long do we have?" "At the current rate of spread? Months, perhaps a year before they reach populated systems. We need to understand your ability better, Commander, and quickly. Looking at the data streams flowing through the crystalline displays, Sullivan felt that familiar tingle of intuition. This is just the beginning, isn't it? There's something you haven't told me yet. Vexry's form pulsed with what might have been approval. Indeed, Commander. What you sensed today was just an echo. Tomorrow, we need you to make direct contact. Direct contact is an unacceptable risk. Admiral Chen's hologram flickered in the Star Weaver's communication chamber. Commander Sullivan, you're not authorized to proceed. Sullivan stood her ground, despite the exhaustion from 3 days of intensive neural scanning. Sir, with respect, we don't have time for standard protocols. The Void Hunters are accelerating their advance. 2 more systems showed signs of their presence just this morning. The Admiral's concern is valid, Vexry interjected, their crystalline form radiating cautionary yellows. Direct neural contact with a Void Hunter could be fatal, or worse. Worse than watching them devour entire civilizations, Sullivan challenged. We've confirmed I can sense them. The next logical step is attempting communication. The Admiral's hologram frowned. This isn't a first contact scenario, Commander. These entities aren't just alien, they're predatory. Exactly why we need to understand them. Sullivan projected the latest scan data. Look at their movement patterns. They're not mindless, they're coordinated. Something's directing them, and if we can understand what that is, we might find a way to stop them. Vexry completed her thought, their colors shifting to contemplative blues. The Admiral studied the data, his expression grave. And if you're wrong, then humanity loses nothing but one commander. But if I'm right, we might save billions of lives, human and Nexian alike. After a long moment, Chen nodded. You have conditional authorization, but at the first sign of mental degradation, the Nexians pull you out. Understood? Yes, sir. As the hologram faded, Vex returned to Sullivan. There's something else you should know before we proceed. Our historical records suggest the Void Hunters aren't just feeding, they're searching for something. Sullivan felt a chill run down her spine. What are they looking for? We don't know, but each civilization they consumed shared one characteristic: highly developed consciousness, particularly in areas of intuitive perception. Like humans. Precisely. Vexry led her back to the modified medical pod. Which is why this attempt at contact is both our greatest hope and our greatest risk. Are you certain you want to proceed? Sullivan settled into the pod, watching the crystalline surface adapt around her. No, but I'm certain we have to try. The neural link activated, but this time it felt different. Instead of observing space, Sullivan felt herself being drawn into something deeper, darker. The void between stars became tangible, alive with currents of consciousness she'd never noticed before. And there, in the darkness, something noticed her back. The sensation was immediate and overwhelming, an ancient alien awareness focusing on her with terrible intensity. Sullivan felt her mind recoil, but forced herself to remain open, to reach out toward the presence. Images flooded her consciousness. Civilizations rising and falling, species evolving and dying, all against the backdrop of an endless hunger. But beneath the hunger was something else: fear. These entities, as old as they were running from something even older, even more terrifying. They're refugees, Sullivan gasped, her physical body convulsing in the pod. The Void Hunters, they're running from extinction. Consuming consciousness isn't just feeding, it's evolution. They're trying to adapt, to change themselves into something that can survive. The connection shattered as Vexry forcibly terminated the link. Sullivan found herself back in her body, shaking and drenched in sweat. Warning signals filled the laboratory as Nexian medical systems rushed to stabilize her neural patterns. What are they trying to survive? Vexry demanded, their form pulsing with urgent reds. What could be worse than consciousness-devouring entities? Sullivan tried to focus through the lingering psychic echoes. I felt, there's something coming. Something that devours not just consciousness, but reality itself. The Void Hunters are desperate to evolve beyond physical form before it arrives. How long? I don't know. But they're accelerating their consumption because they're running out of time. Sullivan sat up, fighting off waves of dizziness. And we just became part of their evolution plan. Thexry's form darkened to deep violet. Explain. They sensed something in me, in human consciousness. A potential they've never encountered before. Now they're not just coming to feed. Sullivan met Thexry's gaze. They're coming to transform us, all of us. The laboratory fell silent except for the pulsing of warning signals. In that moment, both human and Nexian understood that they'd uncovered something far more complex than a simple predator-prey relationship. The question was no longer just how to stop the Void Hunters, but whether stopping them might doom the galaxy to an even worse fate. The emergency council chamber aboard the Starweaver hummed with tension as representatives from both species processed Sullivan's revelation. Admiral Chen's hologram stood beside projections of the Nexian High Council, their crystalline forms radiating waves of concern. "Let me be clear," Chen said, his voice tight. "These entities aren't just trying to consume us. They want to forcibly evolve humanity into some kind of interdimensional refugees." "Not just humanity," Sullivan corrected, fighting through her lingering headache. "All sentient life. But they're particularly interested in human consciousness because of our unique perceptual abilities." "Which makes Earth their primary target," Thexry added. Their form had settled into a deep indigo, reflecting the gravity of the situation. The Nexian first speaker's projection pulsed with authority. "We cannot allow them to reach populated systems. The loss of consciousness would be catastrophic." "With respect," Sullivan interjected, "we might be missing an opportunity here. The Void Hunters aren't inherently malevolent. They're desperate. If we could communicate with them properly, find a way to help them evolve without consuming other species." "That's an enormous risk, Commander," Chen warned. "One mistake, and we lose everything that makes us human." Sullivan projected the latest scan data, showing the spreading pattern of Void Hunter activity. "They're already less than 6 light-years from the nearest colony. We're out of time for safer options." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Thexry who finally spoke. "There might be a way. Our ancestors developed technology to amplify consciousness, though it was abandoned as too dangerous. If we combined it with Commander Sullivan's proven ability to communicate with the Void Hunters." "You're suggesting we build a consciousness amplifier around a human mind." One of the council members flared with alarm. "The neural load would be catastrophic." "Not if we distribute it." Sullivan's eyes lit up as the idea took shape. The neural interfaces, they were originally designed for shared consciousness during deep space missions. If we could link multiple human volunteers through Nexian technology, creating a collective consciousness strong enough to communicate with the Void Hunters as equals, Thexry finished. Their form brightened with excitement. "Yes, it could work. But the risks are better than certain extinction," Sullivan stated firmly. She turned to Admiral Chen. "Sir, request permission to begin immediate recruitment of volunteers." Chen's hologram studied her for a long moment. "You understand what you're asking? The psychological impact of linking multiple human minds could change us forever," Sullivan acknowledged. "But maybe that's not a bad thing. The Void Hunters are running from something that threatens all reality. If humanity has to evolve to survive that threat, wouldn't it be better to do it on our terms?" The chamber erupted in discussion, crystalline forms pulsing with various colors as the Nexian Council debated among themselves. Finally, the first speaker raised a limb for silence. "The Council approves this course of action with conditions. The technology must be developed jointly, with full transparency between our species, and their form pulsed with sullen purpose. If the attempt fails, both our civilizations must be prepared to take more final measures to stop the Void Hunters' advance." Sullivan felt the weight of billions of lives settle onto her shoulders. Understood. How long to modify the neural interface technology? 72 hours, Dextery responded, assuming we can find enough compatible volunteers. They'll come, Sullivan said with certainty. Humanity has always answered the call when faced with extinction. We'll adapt, we'll evolve, but we'll do it our way. Admiral Chen's hologram nodded grimly. I'll begin the recruitment process immediately. God help us all if this doesn't work. As the council members flickered out one by one, Sullivan turned to Dextery. There's something else, isn't there? Something you haven't told the others? The Nexian's form rippled with confirmation. The consciousness amplifier, in all our historical records, it was only used once. The results were unprecedented. What happened? The participants didn't just communicate with higher dimensional beings. They transcended, became something beyond physical form. We never understood what they evolved into, but the records suggest they chose to leave our reality entirely. Sullivan absorbed this information, feeling its weight settle alongside everything else. And you think that might happen to us? I think, Commander, that evolution rarely asks permission. The question isn't whether humanity will change, but whether we can guide that change towards survival rather than extinction. Looking out at the stars through the chamber's transparent walls, Sullivan wondered how many of them had already gone dark, their civilizations transformed or consumed by the approaching void hunters. Soon, humanity would have to make the same choice, evolve or die. But first, they had to build the impossible. The modified hangar bay at the Starwaver had been transformed into what Sullivan privately thought of as an evolutionary crucible. 12 volunteers lay in modified neural pods arranged in a perfect circle, their minds already linked in preparation for the unprecedented experiment. Neural synchronization at 87% and climbing, reported Dr. Marcus Reed, the head of Earth's Consciousness Research Division. His hands moved across holographic displays as he monitored the linked minds. No signs of psychological rejection so far. Dextery's form pulsed with cautious optimism. The human capacity for mental adaptation continues to surprise us. In our simulations, most species' minds fractured at 60% synchronization. Sullivan checked her own neural interface calibration one final time. As the primary contact point with the Void Hunters, she would be at the center of the consciousness web. Any word on their approach vector? Multiple entities detected at the edge of the Proxima system, another Nexian scientist reported. Their velocity has increased by 47% since detecting our consciousness amplifier's activation. They can sense what we're doing, Sullivan realized. They're curious. Or hungry. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm system. The Earth Defense Fleet had taken up position around the Starwaver, ready to implement the final measures if necessary. Remember your orders, Commander. If you lose control. The fleet destroys this ship and everyone on it, Sullivan finished. Understood, sir, but it won't come to that. She settled into the central pod, feeling the familiar sensation of the neural interface activating. But this time, instead of the void of space, she felt the presence of the other volunteers, 11 minds reaching out to hers, merging into something greater than their individual selves. Neural synchronization at 92%, Reed's voice seemed to come from both outside and inside her mind. Consciousness amplifier powering up. Now. The universe exploded into awareness. Sullivan felt her consciousness expand beyond anything she'd experienced before, carried on the combined power of 12 linked minds enhanced by Nexian technology. The void between stars became a living tapestry of energy and potential, and within it. Contact, she gasped, feeling the approach of the Void Hunters. They were beautiful and terrible, beings of pure consciousness wrapped in shells of transformed reality, their hunger radiating across space like a physical force. We raciogenize your evolution at tempi. The thought crashed through their linked minds with devastating clarity. You seek to be me as we are. We seek to understand. Sullivan projected back, supported by the strength of the linked consciousness. To find a way for both our species to survive. Images flooded their collective awareness, the thing that hunted the Void Hunters, a cosmic horror that devoured entire realities, leaving nothing but empty dimensions in its wake. It had consumed countless universes, and now it approached this one. Physical form cannot survive its coming, the Void Hunters communicated. We OFFELTI-NAST-FORM-8 Evolution, survival. Through the consumption of other conscious beings, Sullivan challenged, there must be another way. The linked minds of the volunteers resonated with her determination, and something unexpected happened. The consciousness amplified didn't just let them communicate with the Void Hunters, it let them see beyond them, into the very structure of reality itself. Sullivan gasped as understanding flooded through her. We don't need to run, we can fight. Impossible, the Void Hunters responded, but there was uncertainty in their thought patterns now. No, Sullivan projected, drawing on the combined insight of human intuition and Nexian technology. You've been running for so long you forgot there was another option, but we can see it now. Reality itself isn't just a backdrop, it's alive, conscious in its own way, and if we can connect with it. The linked minds surged with shared purpose, reaching beyond the Void Hunters towards something even more fundamental. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to ripple in response to their touch. In that moment, Sullivan understood why human consciousness was unique, not because it was more powerful, but because it had never lost its connection to the living universe itself. But before they could explore this revelation further, warning alarms shattered their concentration. Multiple dimensional ruptures detected. Vexary's urgent voice cut through their shared consciousness. Something's coming through. The thing that hunted the Void Hunters had arrived early, and now all their theories about evolution and transformation would be put to the ultimate test. Reality screamed. There was no other way to describe the sensation that rippled through the linked consciousness as the cosmic horror began tearing its way into their dimension. Through their amplified awareness, Sullivan and the other volunteers could see it clearly, a vast nothingness that consumed everything it touched, leaving not even void behind. Now you understand, the Void Hunters' thought patterns radiated vindication and terror. Why we consume, why we must evolve. But Sullivan held onto the revelation they glimpsed moments before. Everyone, focus. She projected through the neural link. Don't fight the connection, expand it. Reality itself is conscious, and we're part of it. The 12 linked minds reached out, not toward the approaching horror or the fleeing Void Hunters, but toward the fabric of space-time itself. Through their combined consciousness, enhanced by Nexian technology, they could feel the living pulse of the universe. Commander, Vexary's voice cut through their concentration. The entity's consumption rate is accelerating. Dimensional stability failing in multiple sectors. Trust us, Sullivan projected, her consciousness stretching to its limits. Everyone, remember what makes us human. Not just our thoughts, but our connections. To each other, to life, to everything. The volunteers' minds resonated with shared purpose. Memories flooded their collective consciousness. A child's first laugh, a lover's embrace, the quiet joy of a sunrise, the fierce protection of family, the wonder of discovery. Every connection, every moment that tied them to existence itself. And the universe responded. Reality rippled, not in fear or dissolution, but in recognition. The living consciousness of space-time itself awakened to their call, responding to something it had forgotten over eons of existence, the simple joy of being. Impossible, the Void Hunters projected, witnessing something they'd never imagined in their countless years of running. The cosmic horror paused in its consumption, encountering resistance unlike anything it had faced before. This reality wasn't just populated by conscious beings, it was conscious itself, and every human mind, linked through the amplifier, had become a focusing point for that awareness. We don't need to run, Sullivan projected. Her thoughts carried on waves of universal consciousness. And we don't need to evolve away from what we are. We just need to remember that we're all connected, humans, Nexians, Void Hunters, even space itself. The linked minds surged with shared purpose, channeling the awakened consciousness of reality. Where the cosmic horror tried to consume, they restored. Where it sought to destroy connections, they strengthened them. Admiral, Sullivan gasped through her physical body, ordered the fleet to link their neural interfaces into the network. We need every human mind we can get. Thousands of minds joined the connection, each one strengthening reality's response to the invasion. The Void Hunters, sensing the change, began to shift their own consciousness, not to flee but to join the defense. We, remember, they projected. Before they running, BFOE DAT HNGR. We were PRTFDS. The cosmic horror recoiled as reality itself rose up against it, not with weapons or energy, but with the fundamental force of existence, consciousness united in the simple, profound desire to be. In the space of a few heartbeats that felt like eternity, the entity was pushed back, forced out of their dimension by the combined will of every conscious being united with the living universe itself. As the dimensional ruptures sealed, Sullivan felt the linked minds begin to ease apart, each person returning to their individual consciousness. But something had changed. The connection hadn't broken, it had transformed into something permanent and profound. They could all still feel it, the living pulse of reality itself, the threads of consciousness that bound all things together. They remained human, yet more aware than ever of their place in the cosmic symphony. Neural synchronization returning to safe levels, Reed reported, his voice thick with emotion. Everyone's okay. Thexry's form pulsed with colors no human had ever seen before. You didn't just save us from the entity, Commander. You've shown us all a new way of existing. Sullivan opened her eyes, feeling the last echoes of the universal consciousness settling into her awareness. Not new, she corrected gently. Just remembered. Every child who's ever looked at the stars and felt a connection, every person who sensed something greater than themselves, we've always known this, somewhere deep inside. The Void Hunters remained at the edge of the system, their consciousness patterns transformed from hunger to harmony. We will heal awaken others, they projected. The entity will return, but he will it itself. No tent is ready. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm, unusually soft. I don't suppose you can explain what just happened in a way that will make sense in my report. Sullivan smiled, feeling the lingering connection to everything around her, the ship, the stars, every mind that had joined in humanity's greatest moment of evolution. Just tell them we remembered who we really are, sir. Not just humans or Nexians or even Void Hunters, but conscious parts of a living universe. And as long as we remember that connection. She looked out at the stars, seeing them now not as distant points of light, but as fellow parts of the greatest consciousness of all, reality itself. Nothing can truly destroy us.